Joining us today, it is Corbit Harrrington. He's a candidate for a district court judge. We've got the upcoming primary election on the way here June 3rd. Corbit, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming in, taking a few minutes today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Got a few questions for you here today. Originally from the Ekalaka area.
Yep, grew up in Carter County, fifth generation Montanan. Grew up on a ranch in Ekalaka, and it's still an operational ranch, and still down there tagging and banning calves this spring, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, but kind of a rough winter for a lot of people, especially over that way, and that rolls right into spring, makes everything different.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was a rough winter. We ended up having to open field calf for the first time in about 25 years.
Really?
Due to the weather, yep.
Oh, really? Well, tell us about that growing up out there. This is a farming and ranching station here. We always like to hear about outfits and, growing up out there and the values that are instilled into you in small town and with those people.
Yeah, definitely. The ranch background is definitely something that drives me and motivates me, and has been obviously a very important part of my life. I grew up in FFA, being involved in FFA and Voice Democracy, have agricultural background with those values, and that hard work ethic is very important to me. So,
why did you pick law? How did you get interested in that?
Well, kind of a roundabout way, really. I grew up on the ranch and liked working on the ranch, but at the same time, it was in the 80s, and it was a tough economic time,
Yep.
So wanted to be able to diversify and learn another skill as well. So I ended up going to law school, and eventually ended up settling in the Billings area so I could be close to the ranch, but at the same time where there was business, and became involved in the county attorney's office, became a prosecutor, and prosecuted violent crimes and child abuse and neglect cases. In addition there, for 5 years, I worked out of the Roundup area with the Honorable Randall Spalding in a private practice, and practiced civil law and mining law and that kind of thing.
Again, Corbit Harrrington with us, candidate for a district court judge coming up. Why is that something that you'd be interested in? And like I told you off the air, I don't know a whole bunch about law and things like that, but probably doing fine with the wife and 2 kids right now. But is this just a progression, you think, of your career in that?
Well, I don't think as a judge's job as a progression. I think there was a conscientious decision to run against a sitting judge who had been an incumbent for 30 years because I felt like there was a need for change in the community. I wanted to be a candidate that would bring back this Montana sense of justice to the justice system, some common sense, Eastern Montana values, and decided to run. Announced my candidacy in December against the incumbent, and in the end, the incumbent, Judge Baugh, decided not to run, and 3 months later, the other opponents decided to come into this candidacy and election as well. So,
yeah, you'd look at it more as an opportunity then.
Well, I look at it as an opportunity, but also an opportunity to serve my community, to make it a better place, and again, to bring some common sense and a Montana sense of justice back to the system in terms of bond settings, in terms of sentencings, and in terms of the work ethic of moving cases. There's a tremendous number of cases that are facing the judiciary right now, in excess of 9,500 cases. That's over 1,500 cases per judge. We need somebody that can sit on the bench and start making some rulings and processing those cases, especially until some additional judges can come along, which is what they're hoping for. So,
what do you think are some of the requirements for district court?
Well, I think the biggest requirement is having a breadth of legal knowledge and background, and I think that's something I offer. Again, not only do I have a background in criminal law and violent adult crimes and juvenile crimes and child abuse and neglect cases, but also civil experience. I mean, I'm sure I'm the only candidate that's practiced agricultural law, mining law, worked for businesses and corporations and incorporated nonprofit companies, just worked for average everyday people in central Montana and southeastern Montana, and I think that's important for this community to have that breadth of knowledge.
Talk a little bit more about agriculture law, if you would. Talk about what's involved with that. Representing farmers and ranchers, that type of thing. Land,
absolutely.
Land,
a lot of real estate, a lot of contracts. Some personal injury cases and related cases, but that type of thing. Certainly for feed, for marketing cattle, for injured cattle and animals. So, done all those kind of things. So,
all right, and of course, it's a nonpartisan race here for the judgeships, with no party affiliation on that. Yeah. Some people have talked about changing that. What do you think about that? Obviously, it's not going to be affecting the primary or the general this year, but you think it has room in there?
I think it's important to keep the system nonpartisan because I think there's always a tendency when you're running. There's a tendency of people wanting to label you and put you in a particular deal, and generally that's based upon national politics. I've always always been a person that's been in favor of Montana issues or been concerned about Montana issues. The legislation that we've passed, that we sponsored and testified for, has been for the betterment of all people, regardless of their party. And I'm hoping that it stays nonpartisan. I mean, certainly every judge brings his background and his or her experiences to the bench, and certainly there is party involvement and financing behind some of these elections. But a judge is basically a referee, and if you're rooting for one side that's in the game, I think that's a disadvantage for the other side, and we need to remain neutral.
I understand as well. I putting my vote in as well. I do by absentee, and in the last few years, I guess it's expanded, or it's been able to be available to more people than maybe those that are living overstate or soldiers that are out of overseas and things like that. More people are voting by that. Do you think that's having an effect on turnout elections? Or are we hoping that it will?
Yeah, I think that there's a greater turnout probably. I miss the days where people could go to their local churches and businesses and different places and vote. I think it's been centralized now, probably for the convenience of the system. There is probably a greater turnout. I think probably about 40% of the ballots are in right now. So we're certainly reaching out to the listening area, to those people who have not turned in their ballots or who are voting, and asking for their support in their vote. And it's just a different way. It's where a lot of communities are going, are to these absentee ballots and mail-in systems.
All right. Corbit Harrrington, candidate for a district court judge. I will give you the last word this morning.
Well, get out, vote. Please do your research. This is a very, very important election. It's an often overlooked election. You've got a chance to put in somebody with your values and similar backgrounds, and I'm hoping that you'll give us a good look and vote for us in the upcoming election. Facebook page, website, if they'd like more information on that, your background and that. Yeah, all that's Facebook page under my name, Corbit Harrington, CorbitHarrington, and also a site. And there's a lot of information on the Billings Gazette and a lot of information on the net out there, including past cases. So please vote for us.